Since the beginning of time, water has been a vital source of life, prosperity, and civilization. And that extends not only to human history, but theme park history as well. When Walt Disney created his Magic Kingdom in Anaheim, California, he knew that not only did it have to feature one of his most beloved pastimes, the railroad and transportation, but it also had to feature water. Why? Because water is where history was written.
To all the guests currently waiting to experience Cali Coaster Adventure's latest thrill through your safety, we ask that you please stay off those air gates. Loading gates opening, stand back, stand clear. Welcome. Please watch your step as you enter the ride vehicle at this time. Please secure all loose articles. Leave them in the cubbies if you do not have a non-rider to leave them with. There are no loose articles allowed aboard this ride. Once you're seated, go ahead and secure those restraints. Keep your head back. Sit upright. Hold on tight. Clear 1, clear 2, all clear. Dispatch, enjoy your ride.
What's up, everybody? It's Cali Coaster, aka PunkVid619, aka PunkVid Music on the YouTubes. I'm here to talk to you about something that's very, very important: water, and what it means for theme parks and Walt Disney and the Disney theme park empire, and why I believe that the biggest mistake Imagineering has made thus far was removing a vital source of water when they started constructing Cars Land for the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. You may be asking yourself, why is it such a big deal? Well, that water system that they basically paved over was not only an attraction that offered multiple experiences, but it was a source of life for the park. And this isn't the first time that Imagineering has paved over a water system in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. When they redid Fantasyland a few years ago, they removed the submarine lagoon, which was another pretty large waterway that sat in the middle of the park. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's just water. But think about this. Without water, there is no life. And without life, there is no Walt Disney World. Well, technically. I mean, it is surrounded by massive waterways already, being that it is in the swampiest state in the country, in the state of Florida. But when Walt Disney designed his parks, all of his parks that he was involved with, water was a vital part of that, because water breathes life, and water creates a feeling, it creates a scene. And not only was the waterway a piece of scenery in the park, it was a piece of the story as well. The rivers of America are the waterway that I'm referring to. And though it may not have been utilized to the extent that it has been in California at Disneyland, those rivers told a story. Those rivers in history breathed life into modern America, the country that we know today. If it wasn't for those rivers, life that we know in this country would probably not exist the same way that it does now. Major cities were built along those waterways because water, again, breathes life into civilization. It provides a source of refreshment and recreation, as well as allows plants and trees to thrive and continue to grow. And without that, we wouldn't have the atmosphere that we breathe. We wouldn't have the developments that we do. Those trees wouldn't have existed for us to be able to build buildings, build bridges, build transportation systems, build everything that this country needed to be able to become what it is today. And I'm not going to get into the politics of what our country is. I'm just talking about the structure of what our country is, the buildings that everybody's come to recognize, the transportation systems, the roads, the bridges, the railroads. Railroad ties are made out of wood. Most houses are made out of wood. Without water to allow those trees to grow, that wood would not exist. And that is why I feel that Imagineering made probably the biggest mistake in this century when they decided to get rid of the largest waterway system in the Magic Kingdom. Aside from the fact that water can tell a story, water brings life, and the water that system was representing is vital to the history of our country, it also gave an experience in which, granted, my main experience is with Disneyland, and Disneyland was built as a much more compact, much more densely populated park versus the Magic Kingdom. One of the greatest things about the Magic Kingdom is Walt had the land that he needed to be able to build it bigger to allow for wider walkways, wider midways, wider systems for people to be able to navigate his park. But when you are walking through Disneyland and possibly even the Magic Kingdom, I haven't been there since I was little. Disney World was still in its infancy. Epcot had just opened a few years before my first, second, and only visits to the Florida properties. But I do remember that it does get pretty crowded there as well. Even with the wider walkways, it still feels pretty compact. But when you get to the rivers area, it suddenly feels a lot more open. It feels a lot different. It breathed a different life into the park. And that's one of the things that they're taking away from the park when they remove that water system. And moving away from the Disney parks, pretty much every major theme park that I've been to has some kind of large body of water, partly for the same reasons. And those views from those waterways are pretty breathtaking, in my opinion. You get the reflections of surrounding attractions and buildings into those waterways. The water can be a show. The water can be made into its own element, its own attraction. Six Flags Magic Mountain, before Full Throttle went in, had a pretty large body of water just after the entranceway between the main entry plaza and the Revolution Fountain and Bugs Bunny World with Logjammer. There was a massive splashdown pond and waterfalls coming down the mountain, just inviting you to the land, to the attraction, to the experience. And from what I remember, I've visited that many times. Logjammer was actually one of my favorite attractions at the park. I'm a huge coaster guy, and it wasn't a huge thrilling ride, but it was quite an experience. It was a pretty major attraction, and honestly, I put it up there with Splash Mountain as being one of the best flume attractions at any theme park because of the views that it provided. You were riding along the hillside. You got some good views of the lower part of the park. It interacted with Gold Rusher, the original coaster at Magic Mountain, really well. And when you're going around the flume, and the Gold Rusher train is timed perfectly to where you're kind of watching the train as you're going through the flume, It offered a pretty unique experience, and that large splashdown pond was a great photo opportunity, and the trees surrounding it made for breathtaking adventures. It hid part of the adventure, it hid part of the course, so you kind of only saw the first half of the ride from the queue and loading area. Until you were on the flume, you really didn't know what to expect, especially when the back third of the ride was hidden in the canyons going down the mountain, so you couldn't see those either. So I guess what I'm saying is, do not get rid of water systems just to create a brand new attraction in a park when you don't have to. And Walt Disney World has the advantage that most parks don't. They've got an abundance of land to work with, and that's one of the reasons Walt Disney purchased that parcel of land, which is pretty much a city-sized piece of property when you think about it. There's 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, and I've lost count how many resort hotels are on that property now, and that's not including the vacation club only properties. I'm just talking the general public properties that you can reserve without having to have a special membership. And that's a pretty special opportunity. So with all this land available to them, why did the executives and Imagineers feel that it was necessary to remove a beautiful, big part of the Magic Kingdom and Disney story by paving over the beautiful rivers that sat, and I believe it was about a fourth of the park size that's been removed and paved over for the new Cars and Villains lands that are going in, when they could have easily built a brand new park to house those experiences and built up more attractions around them. Why can't Walt Disney World build a 5th gate? They've got the land. Obviously, they've got the finances. I know it wasn't cheap to dredge and pave over and remove that huge piece of land that was already sat in a park that already had infrastructure built around it with the water system, and there's probably a lot of electrical and plumbing and other systems and track systems that they had to pay to remove. That easily could have been a 5th gate at the Walt Disney World Resort with, honestly, in my opinion, with Universal opening their 3rd gate, well, technically 4th, but 3rd theme park gate that's non-water park property with Epic Universe this year. I'm really surprised they went that route instead of deciding to build a 5th gate. I think they're trying to rush things, and they're forgetting that with patience comes reward. Had they decided to build a 5th gate for the new experiences that they're putting in an already existing park by removing an experience and attraction that already was there, I kind of feel like they're shooting themselves in their foot. They're not allowing themselves the opportunity to grow the way that the property should. With all these resort hotels that they've got around the property, a 5th gate actually makes more sense than just expanding by removing an experience that already existed. And that just may be my opinion, but with the Rivers of America gone, the submarine lagoon where 20,000 Leagues used to sit, the Skyway gone, they're taking away in an age where everything is posted online. They're removing those Instagrammable opportunities and replacing them with even faker facades that don't really speak the same as a moving body of water would. Granted, they're all artificial. I mean, it's all artificial. It's all designed and built by the park. None of it is natural, but they're removing things that could have brought them prosperity and people could have posted about later on. Personally, I'd rather pay a little bit more for a fifth gate than to have an attraction and experience that large removed from a park just to replace it with something that we don't even know if it's going to work that well. Yes, like I mentioned before, Magic Kingdom does have a lot more real estate to work with versus Disneyland, which is great, but it looks to me like you're trying to cramp it even more. The midways are starting to look smaller and smaller as I see them posted online than when they were originally built, because you're adding by subtracting. You're taking away large spaces to cram in multiple experiences into a space that you're Disneylanding the Magic Kingdom, which is not what it was built for. It was built to be the opposite. It was built to be expanded and absorb larger crowds than Disneyland could. And now it's starting to feel like it's Disneyland East. And that's not a good thing. That's not the vision. That's not what it was put there for. And I really hope that in the coming years they find a way to put the scenery back into it, because a theme park, yes, it should be thrilling, it should be fun, but half of a theme park is a park, and a park is made up of trees, benches, walkways, outdoor experiences, and yes, water features. At least that's what it should be, in my opinion. It should offer something for all the senses. It should be something to entice you. And a large plot of concrete with rides built on it doesn't sound much different than a glorified country fair or county fair or state fair. And that's not what that park was built for. In fact, the idea behind the parks was to be the exact opposite, to offer more than just rides. And Walt Disney said that he doesn't build rides, he builds attractions. So yes, while the Villains Land and Cars, I don't even remember the name of it, but the Cars expansion that's going into the Magic Kingdom is highly themed. There's a lot going into it, but at the end of the day, they're just rides. And I didn't really see anything aesthetically that is worthy of replacing a massive piece of scenery and story and landscaping that's been removed for those experiences. Yes, it may seem like I'm going off on a tangent, but in reality, like, no, those aren't the same. You're not replacing it with a better or equal. You're just replacing it. And that's not what the Disney story should be about. Going back to what I was saying about all the parks, look at Epcot. World Showcase is across a body of water. Animal Kingdom has large bodies of water. And that's one of the newer parks. In fact, that is the newest actual theme park on the Walt Disney World property. Going across to the international parks, they all have massive bodies of water weaving through them. The only one that is comparable to Magic Kingdom losing its large bodies of water is Hollywood Studios, but I don't remember if that was ever built with a large body of water intended to be a showpiece and part of the story, or if they just added it to put in a show. But all the other Disney parks, Animal Kingdom, like we already said, has a large body of water. You can see it in photos of Everest, where you can see the reflection of Everest in the water. California Adventure has what used to be Paradise Bay. I don't know what they call it now that they've renamed Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier, but that large body of water is still there. Yes, it's used for a show, but that body of water still exists, and part of it actually runs under San Francisco, which used to be Pacific Wharf, and Disneyland as well. There are two actual large bodies of water that are all connected. If you want to throw in an attraction with Jungle Cruise, technically there's three large bodies of water, but they're all interconnected. And Hey Bricky did an amazing video on why those waterways are important and why they probably will never or should never be removed, even though the attraction that used to be in one of those bodies of water hasn't existed since the late 90s. The motorboat cruise, the dock is still there, the water is still there, but they haven't touched it. And I think that's a good thing for the reasons that I've already mentioned, as it adds to the aesthetic and the park-like setting, which, again, a theme park is a park with a theme. It doesn't have to have rides. It doesn't have to have attractions. It just has to have a central theme or idea. And for the Disney parks, those themes and ideas are the stories in which they tell. Again, going back to the Rivers of America, those are stories about the history and development of this great country and what it is, what it looks like, how it should have been preserved, and why I feel like it's a mistake that that part of the story at Magic Kingdom has been removed. Hurts. Honestly, it hurts. I mean, not just as a citizen of this country, but as a theme park enthusiast, I don't just look for the rides, because if I wanted rides, I'd go to my local fair, I'd go to an amusement park. But people pay a premium because they want an experience, they want a story, that they want to be immersed. And those rivers, even though they offered very little in the way of attractions, or part of the story and part of the immersion. And honestly, it's a big mistake that they ever got removed. So that's all I got to say about that now. I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while. I've been putting it off, but I'm glad I finally got this out there. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. If you like the video, give me the thumbs up. If you want to see more, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. I want to open a dialogue and find out if I'm the only one that feels this way, or if this is something that Disney really should have put some more thought into before going ahead with it. I know it's too late to do anything now, but maybe we can prevent something like this from happening in the future at any theme park. So just let me know. Thank you for your time. Peace.